Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. We're so glad to have you here again. We're here with, oh my God, this amazing guest today, and this is going to be so much fun. We're talking with Dr. Marina Bruni, and she is from this amazing movie, How Thoughts Become Things. This movie is basically a sequel. It's been brought out there as like the sequel to The Secret, which we always were waiting for this sequel. Now it's basically there because so many of the teachers from The Secret are in this movie, and Dr. Marina Bruni is in this whole thing, and she's awesome. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about her. I'm beginning to know her. I can't wait to hear more about her, and I hope you share my enthusiasm. So I'm going to tell you about her now. She's patiently waiting there for me. So let's talk about her background. Okay, so Dr. Marina Bruni, AKA the Global Brain Activation Strategist, that's amazing, is a mentor, lawyer, and executive coach, business consultant, and international speaker who specializes in brain integration strategies and energy. Energy, that's awesome. So she gives her clients the keys to unlock creative solutions to the problems they're facing. Now, Dr. Marina is featured as one of the global thought leaders in the movie How Thoughts Become Things, sequel to the hit movie The Secret, alongside many big names from The Secret's original cast, like Dr. Joe Vitale, and oh my God, there's just so many amazing people. She is well known for helping businesses identify additional revenue streams within their existing business through strategic relationships and delegation. That's a beauty there. So as a dual qualified lawyer with over 2 decades of experience in the financial services industry, Dr. Marina has been has seen the destructive consequences of poor choices. Now she is on a mission to empower men and women to use her proven method to make the right choice with ease consistently. Oh, that feels really good. And with the mindset of a lawyer and the skill set of a coach, she's bringing her whole brain in, right? So Dr. Marina fast tracks her private and corporate clients through shifts using innovative and proprietary methods from her Power of Choice Brain Activation Mastery Program. Dr. Marina is a master of neurolinguistic and energy, speaks four languages, and you got to know this is the most important part, loves that dark chocolate and traveling the globe. So I'm grateful to have you here. Dr. Marina, how are you?
Hi, Daniel. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm very excited about our conversation and I feel amazing.
Awesome. Okay, great. So, I mean, there's so many things I'm curious about, even the dark chocolate. I'm like, let's dive into that one. Let's back that up for a second I'm just really curious about how these movies get put together sometimes, right? I mean, the Secret I know was brought together. And I know 80% of the people or so were brought in by some mentors of mine, Janet Ray and Chris Atwood, and that was fun to know that. But I wonder, sometimes I wonder how these things get put together. So how were you invited into this movie? How did that come together?
Well, it was absolutely the law of attraction in action. Because what happened is that I met Doug, the director of the movie, in London. I was attending a networking event and he was giving a speech, their presentation. And after his presentation, we started talking. And then he invited me to the following weekend because he was hosting a 2 days workshop. But the thing is that that week I had already plans for that weekend and a lot of stuff. And also because the event was on the other side of town, I wasn't really, I mean, I had to make an effort. It was kind of I don't really want to go. I mean, yeah, I know probably I should go, but somehow I was drawn to that event. So somehow I made an effort. I canceled all my plans and I went there, which was amazing, by the way. And at that event, also, Doug mentioned the fact that he was in the movie industry and as well in personal development. And he was working on 3, 4 movies at that time. And it just mentioned like that, en passant. And after that, we stayed in touch, you know, talking about business, entrepreneur stuff, and things like that. And at some point, he tells me, "Oh, you know what? This movie, how thoughts become things, now is happening. I mean, really, really happening." And so he talks to me about the entire project and the people who were involved, Bob Proctor and Dr. Joe Vitale, Dr. Jody Martini, John Astroff, and blah, 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 blah. And he was super excited and the project was amazing. And it was a very long conversation. And while he was talking to me, a thought popped into my mind like, how cool would it be being in that movie? And then it went. So this thought popped and then I released it.
Right.
And I didn't mention it. I never mentioned that to Doug, by the way. And when he finishes to tell me about the project and the movie and all that kind of stuff, I said to him, yeah, I know it's very exciting. And you know about, I mean, the brain and the work. And you know that I do a lot of work with brain and strategists. And then he interrupts me and he goes, right, you need to be in the movie.
Just like that.
Just
Bam,
like
just
that.
like that.
Just like that. And I was like, ooh.
Oh, wow.
And then, of course, I said, yes, no second thoughts. And of course, so,
yes.
because the thing is, you open up to the universe. And when the universe sends that or even something bigger, you got to say yes. You can't really stop. I mean, you don't want to stop that flow, right?
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love that. You know, one of the things on manifestation to talk about the way that happened, how you experience it, you know, how it really happens sometimes in some ways sometimes we may not really know, right? It's we can do all the science and look into it and say it's this that we don't maybe always really know, but there are things that seem to work, right? So one of the things, and it seemed to happen, one of the things like what you said, like you just had the thought just kind of pop up. It sounded like almost spontaneously, right? You just, oh, I'd like to be in that movie. And then all of a sudden it happened. And so that I have found that so many like things. I always tell people it always happens at the restaurants the most for me. I've told so many restaurant stories of I just pops in my thought for somebody at the restaurant to bring me something. All of a sudden it's on my table. It could be, it's just bizarre. People would think it's bizarre if they just went into it, but so it's like, but I've had that experience in obviously other realms of my life where it just comes to you. You just like, oh, this not, it doesn't always even come to you as a desire. It's just like, oh, you know, it's not like a conscious desire. It's like, oh, it'd be nice if that happened. Like you said, like, oh, that'd be nice if that happened. But you're not like, oh, I hope it happens. You're not like, oh yeah, that's my desire. You know, it's just like it just is. It's just something that occurs to you. Next thing you know, it's happening. And this is a space of sort of grace that I like to talk about, like a space of grace
Yeah,
just happen.
yeah,
And when
I
we
love
get more
that.
of that flow, man, what's available to us is amazing. It's so delighted. So I'd love for you to talk more about your own experiences with that. And we've got to get into the brain here, but like I'd love to talk about that little piece there.
Yeah, absolutely. But before getting into that, I just want to say that I love what you say about being in a state of grace because that it is. It's exactly that. And it's beautiful because it feels so natural, so comfortable, so like being at home. And it's fantastic. Because instead, if you focus on the desire, if it's like in a state of desire or in a state of hope, you focus on the lack.
Yes.
And so because your attentions, where you put your attention, that grows. if you focus on desire, or if you focus on hope, which is a state of lack, what's going to grow? The state of lack.
Yes, absolutely. That's what we experience, right? When we're running up, and then the way I experience that is that if I'm having a struggle in a sense of wanting to manifest something, and even though I know better, I'm focusing on the lack because it just that subconscious, right, just takes over. It's just like, oh my God, it's not happening. How's it going to happen? And it's in fear or just wants it and it's trying to make it happen, but it's just making it way too hard.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like it thinks it needs to do something other than just relax and let it come to you and follow the signs like you did. Like you had no idea when you went over there that something like this would manifest at all, but you knew you were supposed to be there. And even though it didn't make it wasn't comfortable or it didn't maybe make total logical sense, it's like I'm supposed to be there, I gotta be there. And then you just follow through on that. And that's the wonderful thing about just following that natural sense of the right brain, right? Of that intuition that we get and just letting it be given to us, to actually let it be given to us. But we have to follow that the right brain instructions, the intuition to let it happen, right? I mean, tell me more about that.
Yeah, well,
There's a lot, right? Right there.
let's open the Pandora box.
It's a big subject.
Yeah, but it's one of the keys to everything. I mean, that together with the tapping into the energetic DNA combined together, it's really the key to everything, because the thing is that we are supposed to be whole. We are whole. We were created as a whole. But our mind likes playing duality. And so that's why we have this, and most of us live in separation between logic and creativity, because also naturally, or most of the time is because of the way we've been brought up. Most of us are only or predominantly left brainer versus right brainers. So they are more like linear logic, very much analytic. They want to know here, now, everything, every single detail. Otherwise, they're not going to move anything, not even a needle. And some others are very much creative, very much like la 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 la. And so when you are even exclusively logical or creative, or mostly, it's like the analogy that I like to bring is, it's like you go through everything you do like hopping on one leg only. So if you try to do that right now, and I would like for our listeners to do this exercise, do this for like a minute or two at least. Go around hopping on one leg only, and tell me how that feels. It's uncomfortable, it's awkward, and then it can be really painful. And that's what we do when we use only one side of our brain. Because when we use only one side of our brain, it's not just a side of our brain, it's a side of us, like a whole. So it's like we shut down completely one side of ourselves. Now, consciously or unconsciously, we do that because of fear, because the way we've been brought up, because of a number of reasons. But that doesn't change the result. And the thing is that when we do that, when we function at 50%, well, it's easy to understand that there is a lot that we miss out. And there is a lot that is an untapped, it's our untapped potential. And that's why I've studied the brain a lot and neuroscience, and that's why also I became a licensed master in neurolinguistic, because I want to, what I do is bringing back this wholeness, this unity. And that starts in the mind, because it's in the mind that everything starts. So unity needs to start here, because this is the piece that's always questions us. I mean, when we are in those situations when we have to make a choice, a decision, can be a more complex choice, like shall I stay in my current job or shall I go for a new job? But also very much easier choice, like what am I gonna eat? Salmon or salad? And believe me, I've seen people getting stuck on choices like what am I gonna eat for hours, literally. I've witnessed that with my eyes, okay? And when we get stuck in there, it's like that confusion, like that second guessing ourselves. Oh yes, I like that, but I also like that. Oh, but I like that better. Oh, but what if? Or what that? And that's because our logic and our creativity don't work together. It's because we don't master them. And that's just a very little examples. Nothing to say, not less to say when, for example, and I'm sure you've assisted to, you've observed this kind of conversation. When you assist to conversation between two people, let's say, and they might be expressing a similar or same concept, but they express it in a different way, and so they don't understand each other, so they keep discussing and sometimes even litigating, because each one of them truly believe that the other person is not getting them and is saying something opposite to what they say, while in reality they're saying the same thing.
Yep.
And that's because usually there is one person who is, one of them is a left brainer and the other one is right brainer. And that's because left brainer and right brainers people, they have different codification system. And when I say codification system, what I mean is that we absorb inputs and information and data every minute, every instant, from the external world and from internal world. And we filter all this data that we receive through our sensory system. We elaborate the data and then we put them back out in an outcome. Now, all this process gets done in a different way, in accordance with different parameters, depending on the fact that you are more a left brainer or a right brainer, because the reference parameters and characteristics are completely different. And that's why we perceive things in different way, basically, because we have the screening system, our internal reference system, that is different. Whilst when you use your left brain and right brain in a combined integrated way, what happens is that your vessel expands exponentially. So it's not like an arithmetical sum where 1 + 1 = 2, because in this case, 1 + 1 equals exponentially infinite possibility of downloading information and putting out results much more in terms of quantity, but also qualitative different results, because the system that we use is qualitative different.
So that evokes a lot of questions for me. Like, one of my thoughts is, it's funny, I'm very, everybody always talks about me as this really tuned in guy, and that's what people come to me for a lot of times. Tune in for me, read my energy, tell me what are the angels saying, what are the guides saying, or But it's funny, like, but at the same time, I have a strong logic analytic brain. And so I can have if someone tell me anything like, but my angels told me, I'm like, yeah, that doesn't make it true. And I could go through the logic of that. Like, and this is why it might not be true. And I could really go deep into that, questioning it and have people like, what is real then, right? I could just really dial that in through the left brain a lot of left brain, like analytic. And that's good too, though, because it opens people up to more perception. So, but one of my thoughts is like, I'm known as someone who tunes in a lot. That's all this right brain. But I'm also known as someone who can um, be very analytic. And growing up, I remember, all these tests they give you, right? Are you left brain? Are you right brain? Are you more balanced or whatever? I was always more, at that time, more left brain. And they say if you're right-handed, you tend to be more left brain, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
so how can people, and I'm sure you help people with this is your thing. So how can people know what they tend to default more to? How would it show up like in their life? Like you kind of gave an example or descriptors at least. So how would they know like they're getting caught in a rut and they're only using like half their brain most of the time and they're not really coming into that wholeness? And how do we then operate from that wholeness? So kind of a two-part question. So I'm wondering about that.
Yes, absolutely. And I'd like to add another part because before getting into the question, I'd like to demystify a concept first, which more than a concept is more an affirmation because I hear a lot out there from the spiritual world, for a certain type of spiritual world, um, that they label the rationality, the logic, like the bad guy. You need to overcome your rationality because it's an obstacle for you to connecting to your spirituality, into your higher self, into God, into your angels and things like that. That's BS. That's my opinion. I strongly believe that because our rationality is a gift. It's part of who we are. It's one of the gifts that we've received from God when He created us. So it's a gift. How we use it, it's another story. But rationality is not the bad guy. It's like same thing applies to ego. Ego is labeled always as the bad guy. The way we use ego and what ego is are two different concepts. So an ego and our rationality are two skills, two amazing skills that when we master how to use them together for our benefit, it's gonna expand our potential in an incredible way. So first of all, I wanted to clarify that because there is a lot of misinformation out there. Now, about your question, how a left brainer would typically show up? Well, usually a left brainer is someone who always asks a lot of questions, very technical, very analytical questions, tend to willing to know a lot of details beforehand, um, very meticulous, very get into the details, before making a decision, before making a choice, they do a lot of research and think and overthink all pros and cons thousands of times, and often without even getting to make that decision or that choice. So it can be very, very, let's say, stressful. And typically, people who work in accountancy, desk jobs like corporate jobs, and yeah, very analytical. They are usually left brainer. Lawyers are usually left brainers. Um, Scientific people, researchers, they are usually left brainers. Although, if you are a successful person, to get to the next level, you cannot be only or predominantly left brainer or right brainer, because you need a truth. And one example overall, Einstein. I mean, Einstein, you cannot label him like, as a left brainer or a right brainer, because of course he was a scientist, so left brainer, of course, but he couldn't have ever made the achievement and the discoveries that he did if he didn't use, if he didn't have a developed high creativity part as well. So the thing is, yeah, exactly, we need to work together with both. We need to develop both together, and uh, that's why with most of my students, that's how what we work first with, in order to, because if you are more left brainer, you need to bring back up the creativity part. If you are more right brainer, you need to start bringing up more the logical part. Because let's go back to your question, how would a right brainer show up? Well, it will show up not grounded at all, like always daydreaming, living in their own world, very much disconnected from the reality, thinking that everything is gonna be its own way, but I mean, they don't really have evidence of that. So yeah, that would be a typical right brain, very emotional, in an emotional roller coaster, I would say. So yeah,
There was be some examples. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the people that I've worked with over the years, they're light workers and healers and those type of people, and they tend towards being more right brain.
yes,
On average, some of them come into me and they're still more left brain, but they, yeah, they tip when I look, because I read people's chakras and I look at it, all the information in their being, and it's like they're all, I mean, most all of them are so ungrounded. They're all so ungrounded. So
yeah,
it makes sense. Because that's exactly what I was hearing the whole time we are talking. I'm like, you need the left brain in the ground. I just kept going through my brain, like, you need the left brain in the ground. And then I was like, if you're too much in your left brain, then the way I was seeing, because I'm tuned into energy now. I have a master's in clinical psychology and focus on the neuroscience to some degree. But like, I'm like, if you're in the left brain, you need to be accessing the right brain and pulling that energy across, right? In order to have what they call enlightened mind, is the way I look
yeah,
at it, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
otherwise you're just lost in confusion because you're separate. You're not in the wholeness of life itself, because the full brain together is basically a map of ultimately a full consciousness is all there, right? I mean, that's how
yeah,
I see it.
absolutely, absolutely. Although sometimes being ungrounded could also be a consequence of unbalance, of some imbalances in the first chakra.
Mm-hmm.
So it could depend also on that. But yeah, or a combination of both. Yeah.
Sure, sure, sure. As with most things, it's one size doesn't fit all. It kind of depends, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's amazing. And so when we talk about how thoughts become things, and most of the people tuning in are very spiritual people. They're spiritual entrepreneurs. They're light leaders. They're wanting to bring their gifts and their mission and their deep purpose out into the world to their next level, whatever that is, whether it's getting started or ramping it up. Um, what are some things, what are some tools or ways that they can utilize, utilizing their whole brain so they can be more whole, and then therefore, activate the global activation thing, and so they can start seeing more wholeness and more results of what they're really looking for, activating their full potential? What are some, some of the quick things you can share with us today around this?
Yeah, well, first of all, and this is the first thing that I always say to my students, first of all, they need to understand that it's a journey. I mean, it's a practice. It doesn't happen like that. I mean, they need to allow the process to happen, and they need to be patient, and they have to be willing to do the work. That working, I mean, work can also be like be patient and don't be too pushy, because sometimes what happens is that when we want things, uh, when we want the things too much, we are so pushy, and then we put in there so much energy, but in a sort of constrictive way, so we don't let the energy naturally flow. And so when we push it too much, it's like when we resist things, so the effect is can be pretty similar. So that's the first thing. So understanding that it's a process, it requires practice and it requires consistency. Absolutely. Second thing is being open to it. Being open to it and willing to do it. So, and therefore that means not being in denial, because there are also a lot of people that believe they are clearly uh, they use the entire brain. So when you go there flagging that maybe that's not really the case, they go defensive. And that's another form of resistance. And we know that what you resist persists. So that's another thing to be mindful of. And in general term, awareness, being aware, start observing your thoughts, because in that way you start becoming more aware of what's going on in your mind, on the processing of your mind. And then with time and with techniques and practices, because of course you always need to have a level of consciousness, and the outcome here is raising your consciousness, right? Because we achieve mastery, because the degree of our mastery is proportional to the degree of our consciousness. And in order to raise our consciousness, you start with raising your awareness. So, but it's something that it's a lifestyle basically, because you cannot be conscious today and throwing that away tomorrow. I mean, because otherwise you're back to square one. So make a commitment, and be consistent with it. And start by observing what's going on here, but also in your body. Because we are a whole being, so wholeness, this concept of wholeness. And this is another thing that I often go through with my student is, I mean, we don't live just here. This is a part of our body. Well, we have all our body, and then our energy body, but that's another conversation. But so let's start paying attention to what happens here, but also in our body. And what I want to say is that when I say paying attention, and when I use the concept and we talk about mastery, it's not control. Control and mastery, control and paying attention are two different things. Because if we have that attitude that we want to control, I have to be able to control my thoughts, I have to be able to control everything that happens in my body. Okay, we are starting with the wrong foot here, because it's the opposite to being in the flow and being open. So, but that's a mistake that, especially at the beginning, is easy to fall into because there is a fine line there. So, yeah, this yeah, that's really that's really how to start. And if I may, a great way to start. For, a while ago, I prepared for my students a free guide to help them start with the right foot. So, and I'm very happy to make that available to all our listeners today. So if you guys go to my website www.marinabruni.com and download a free guide about how to design your energetic morning blueprint. It's a great start. Because,
Great.
yeah.
All right, so awesome. So that's perfect. So that will help them to do what again? Could you tell us more about what that'll help with?
Yes, basically it would help them to start combining the energy of right brain, left brain, and combining them together. And also because everything starts at the beginning, right? Everything starts in our mind, and our day starts at the beginning of our day in the morning. So if we approach our day, our morning with the right beginning, that's an imprint that it fall into it will imprint our entire day.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly, right? When you get the ball rolling well, they get started with the day, then it makes a huge, that's why everybody's into these morning practices and the 5 a.m. clubs and all these things that all have to do with that, getting everything to flow well for the rest of the day. It's all part of it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I don't have anything like the 5 a.m. club. That's too
You're
early
like
for me.
5
That's
a.m.
way too early for me. And indeed, I wrote this guide in the spirit of playfulness. So it's really very much being playful, being different, trying different things. And indeed, one of my favorite, and you will find that in the guide, it's the shower meditation. So go get the guide and try the shower meditation, and then let me know.
Awesome. And then where can they get it again one more time? And we'll put it in the show notes too.
Yes, www.marinabruni, marinabruni.com.
Yeah. Yeah. And use your whole brain to opt in.
Yes. Possibly, but even with a finger, works anyway.
So anyway, yeah, that is so fascinating. And you're right, the brain tends to, our being, or whatever you want to call it, but tends to go into defensive mode. So literally, if you were told like, hey, really, if you go down this path, it's going to solve all your problems, if the brain perceives any threat, it's going to say, nope, I'm not taking it. There might be something that's going to be a problem. Maybe I'll actually break through. Maybe I'll actually see something new happen. But then how is that going to affect all these other things? And all those things are stored in our brain that are as programs that keep us from moving forward. And so having something that clears up our brain allows us not to experience that stuff anymore. And that's why they should get your gifts, because that stuff operates through our day otherwise, and it's constantly seeking to hold back, not be as visible as the spiritual entrepreneur world changer you are, not taking the actions that you would take otherwise, etc. So it just opens you up to so many more possibilities, helps you function and operate at another level. So I really appreciate they have that available for people. Thank you so much. And I love what you talked about with control, right? I think like people go from a sense of being disempowered, right? Sometimes we call it the victim mode. Then they get empowered and like I can control everything. I went in through that when I got into metaphysics, I was over 20 years ago. I was like, I can make it happen. I can make that happen too. And then after you do it for a while, after a certain amount of years, you're like, and I'll make that happen too. You get worn out. And that's where we have to let the right brain come in more so, right? And that's where the more that ease and grace comes in and allows it to be far more simplified, and our left brain can become more coherent and serve our higher potential because our right brain is operating now. And I would say people probably are more, as a society, we tend to be more left brain here in the States than we are right brain. I think you probably agree with that, right? And we need to get that whole brain thing going. And because it's a fascinating, the brain, I could going on and on, but we honestly, we could operate as a whole brain ourselves and as a planet. There you go. You've got an enlightened planet. So right. So I know that's all part of why you're into this, and so anyway, I could go on and on. I just these are the things. So how can people, because a lot of times we are taught that, right? We're talked about through law of attraction, control your thoughts, focus on your thoughts. The minute something comes up, stop, cancel this. So, I mean, I do utilize some of those tools. Are they wrong? Are they bad? Are we trying to control too much, right? So my left brain wants to understand. So what's the right answer then? Are we supposed to control? Are we supposed to let them all just hang around in there? Or what are we supposed to do?
I know. Well, as you know, there's no one size fits all type of answer here. And the thing is that, yeah, there are lots of people out there that say, you've got to control your brain, you've got to control your thoughts, you've got to control this, you've got to control that. I mean, basically you've got to become a control freak, which is not really what we want to do, because if you become a control freak, it's just the opposite of expanding. And if you don't expand, if you don't open up to the universe, you're not going to be able to manifest what you want, or because you end up contracting yourself, and so you contract the energy, and so the energy doesn't flow. So that's one thing. Now, all these techniques, all these tools, they are tools. So first of all, we need to understand, when we say you've got to control your brain, you've got to control your thoughts, what we really mean by that. And what I mean by that might be different to what you mean by that, or what everybody else means by that. So that's why probably the first thing to do is getting clarity around the frame of reference. Second, there are tools. As you rightly said, they are tools. So a tool per se is not bad or good. What do we do with that tool? That's that's the bigger question.
Right.
So, for example, the way, I mean, I said openly that I don't like the word control for this reason, because it's been misused and misinterpreted. And control, and honestly, when someone says control is the opposite of flow. So that's why I don't like, when people say, well, you've got to be in control of your thoughts, you need to control your thoughts. No, you don't, because that's not the point. Because when you are that attitude, when you have that approach that you have to control your thought, what happens when you can't manage to control your thought? You freak out and you don't know what to do, and you end up in a reactive mode. So you are reactive to whatever it happens. You don't respond anymore. You are not in your power. You have given your power away. That's what happened, because you go in automatic pilot, basically. You go in fight or flight mode. And that's why I prefer the word mastery. However, going back to the question, the sense of when people say you've got to control your thoughts. It's not about controlling your thoughts. I mean, probably most of them, they intend control your thoughts, but that's not the way I want you guys to think about it, to perceive it. Every time you hear the word, the expression, you got to control your thoughts, be in control of your thoughts, replace that word with awareness. You have to be aware of your thought. You have to be aware of what's going on out there, so that you can make the decision whether to take it to the next level and raise your level of consciousness and become conscious about that. So it's about being aware of what's going on there, because if I'm aware of what's going on there, I'm relaxed. I know what's going on there because I'm aware of it. I'm relaxed, I'm not contracted, so the energy flows and I'm able to make my decision, I'm able to make my choice in a state of relaxation, not in a state of pressure or stress, or oh my God, I need to control that, or what's going to happen if that doesn't happen, what's going to happen. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is so important. This is why I talk about things like meditate and make money, because we have to get into we increasingly, I mean, people really need this so much because of all the things we get aware of, and then we get into fear, and then we're trying to control it. So, oh my God, my spouse might be cheating on me. Oh my God, I might lose my job. Oh my God, I did lose my job. Now what am I going to do? Oh my God, the Republicans are going to get me. Oh my God, the Democrats are going to get me. Oh my God, like, oh my God, whatever. The satanic cult, it's the elite's going to get me. Or, I mean, they're going to implant me. Facebook's going to censor all of us. And I, I want to just crack up with that. But I mean, it just goes on and on. And and then we get into what I perceive as the left brain. It's left and right brain, but like some of it's really the left brain of like I gotta fight, I gotta control it, I gotta make something happen here. But and then they'll take action. So that's it. That means this means that, and it's all this anger and all this frustration, and then they feel empowered. And then they feel empowered. They feel like, oh man, we're even seeing some things change around here. This is good. Then what always happens with those things that I notice individually and for collective things is they collapse eventually. All of a sudden it's like, oh God, we thought we were making progress and now it's as bad or worse than ever. Whatever the issue was. It's just like Groundhog Day, and then you repeat it. But what happens is if we can get plugged into higher awareness, I want to say the awareness that's in the right brain, then we're able to, oh, I can be calm and actually be for whatever I want to be for, and I can do it in a wholehearted way, and then my left brain can come on board and be effective in navigating my physical reality, right? Because the left brain connects with your lower chakras primarily. I mean, you know better than I do, but and then you've got your right brain with well, definitely the crown and the third eye, right? So, and then the heart for sure. So, but you know more about it than I do. But I'm just saying, like, when we could be in that awareness, if for the world changers out there, I want to see these big changes, education, health care. There's so many different areas that people are listening. They're wanting to make a big difference. We have got to utilize the ability to tune in to that. I feel the right brain much more so in our society, in our times, and bring that in. And yet at the same time, you're right. We do need that left brain, especially for some of the healer types that they're like, no, it's just all happening. I just trust, and then they're falling off a cliff. So it's like, okay, you need the whole kit and caboodle, honor and love it. If we don't, then we're just going to experience more suffering than what we need to experience. And that's just the way it is, right?
Yeah, exactly. And let's not forget that we need to take action.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
exactly.
otherwise things are not going to happen just because we think about things.
No, not so much. Although if you're set up, you can have more things come to you, but you also have actions that you have got to take along the way. And
Yeah, exactly.
sometimes a lot of action, sometimes not so much, maybe some not at all. It's all all those answers are true. There's time to do nothing. There's a time to do a little. There's a time to do a little bit more. There's a time to do a lot. There's a season for everything. And that's where I feel that right brain awareness is so important. That's what I find. And everybody's different too. Like
Yes.
every person's different. And that's what's so beautiful. That's what I really love is just because people say, here's how you succeed. This is how my brain works. This is what works best for me. Now you do that. And they try to do it just more because they're not being themselves. They're not utilizing because we're just saying right and left right now, but there's much more to that. And I'm sure you
Yes.
get into that. So so how can people really optimize being fully themselves and really know themselves better? Not just left and right brain, but more in depth. I mean, you don't have to give the whole answer. That's a whole nother show. I'm like wondering, like, if you could touch on it, and is there a way for them maybe to get more deeply in contact with you to get support with that?
Yes, absolutely. With pleasure. Thank you so much for that question, which is an incredible, amazing question. I love it. And yes, of course, I would love for people to get in touch with me. You can just email me at marina@marinabruni.com, marina@marinabruni.com. And absolutely, I will be happy to support each and every one of you. To answer to your question, because it's a beautiful question. Yes, I mean, how to expand on that even more and be more aligned with yourself, with who you truly are. We are energy beings, we are spiritual beings. Okay. And that's also why I've linked my work on the brain to our energetic DNA. Because as energetic beings, we have an energetic DNA, which is unique to each and every one of us. And it's been given to us at origination. And our energetic DNA basically is it maps out who we are at an energetic level, contains our primary energetic qualities. What does that mean? That means that the way our energetic DNA is designed is the way we are designed in order to create abundance and prosperity in our experience here on earth. What happens is that we, in our experiences in our lives, we make choices, we take actions. The thing is that not all the times that we make choices and action, all these choices and actions are aligned with who we are at an energetic level, with our energetic DNA. When we make choices that are not aligned to our energetic DNA, what happens is that we create energy blocks. Those energy blocks, when we keep repeating those patterns, those energetic blocks consolidate and go into our energetic DNA, and we carry that throughout all our lifetimes until we manage to break that pattern. And that's what really means when we talk about negative karma, that's what it is. The negative karma is the consequence of a choice that was not aligned to who we are at energetic level. It's not like that, well, you did a bad action, now the karma is gonna come back at you sooner or later. No, it's not that.
The karma's gonna get you.
Karma's gonna get you. Exactly. So, and this is one of the way I work also with my students, some of them, because not everybody is ready for this type of work. So I also look at the individual energetic DNA and find out what their gift, their energetic qualities are, And if when there are blocks, energetic blocks, and usually there always are, because otherwise we would be all super rich and not needing, we no need to have a job or to work or make money because we will have
Yes,
it
all
all.
right.
And so when there are the blocks that come up, I clear those blocks in the energetic DNA. So it expands on the current life circumstances. But once I've got that, you've got to anchor that new situation into your reality. And so you will have to come up, and I always help with that, with actions and an action plan that is aligned now to your restored energetic DNA. And that's a very powerful process. And I've seen incredible results after doing that. And that also ties to the subject that the way we manifest, the process that we follow to manifest, we all have our different process to manifest, which is linked to who we are made at an energetic level. And so I also come up with the process tailored on each one of my students so that they can really deep dive into that one. And they know, they have a strategy. They know exactly what they need to do when they want to manifest and raise their vibrational frequencies.
Wow.
So it's really powerful. And that's a way to incorporate this wholeness, to create even more wholeness in a very deep level, and really, really experience our divinity on this planet, because that's what we're meant to do here. That's what we're meant to be here.
Amen. Of course. I mean, a spiritual rock star, that's what we're talking about. My whole body was lighting up and getting connected, even much more so as we were talking about that, with the energy and the energetic DNA and everything you were saying. Like had this body sense of connection. Whereas a little bit different, we're talking about the brain, we tend to get into our brain when we talk about the brain. So this energy feels really good. And that would actually, yeah, when we work on the energy, because the energy centers correspond to our brain, it's like you work with the deeper energy, your brain's going to be good, you know. So you're going to get your brain into that wholeness and lightened spot. So doing this deeper dive work with you on knowing your energetic DNA and work with that in the right way, the way you teach it, is the way to go. And they can contact you here at marinabruni.com. So marinabruni.com. And you can, we'll put it in the show notes here as well. So, Maria, we're ahead of time when we need to beginning to start to kind of wrap up here. One of the things I like to do is I like to do a little energy tuning in on my guests, to just because I'm here to support you guys. I'm like, this is amazing work. You guys are here to make a big difference. Let's see what we can do to support you. And part of it is doing the show. So I'd love to just tune into your energy briefly, get to love up on your energy, see what's there. I did this with Doug too when he came on the show.
Yeah,
I think he appreciated it. Seemed like he liked it. So I'd like to do this for you. Just take a minute or two. Can we do that now?
absolutely, with pleasure. Yes.
Okay, great. All right. Okay, so let me tune in now. The messages I have to share today, again, around your gifts, your purpose, maybe a couple of little things to address. But I've just been getting throughout this interview that this deeper work you're talking about, especially with the energetic DNA, and even this, I feel like it goes even deeper than that. Even there's this real depth that to your work that you're, because you went it feels like, okay, I don't know if I'm accurate, but you kind of went more left, kind of more left brain in the past. Then you moved to your right brain. Now you're getting deeper into the body. And now you're like, oh, wow. And the spiritual aspects deepen. And now it's going to even go deeper. And so I feel that. So your work is just going to keep going deeper, is what it feels like, on top of all the other great stuff you're sharing. But that's what it feels like. But I get this. Yeah, like this high temple of the priestess sort of energy with you, that you're like, somebody comes to you, asks you, well, what am I going to do? What is it? You're like, I got you covered. You whip out your bag and you hand them what they need. And like, they're like, oh my God, that's exactly what I needed, you know? So I get like, you just magically just know what people need. You're like, here, yeah, this will do it for you. So in this case, it's like kind of balancing their energy out, or, you know, so yeah, that relates to the brain. But I feel like also, what else do I get? I feel like, yeah, I get a lot of energy in your third eye, you know, that keeps coming to me. You just, it's like a swirling energy. And quite frankly, you know, we're on the spiritual show. I see the angels just coming in. I keep seeing the angels around you and through you, coming through your third eye, and more through your throat chakra. I feel like that energy wants to get through. There's some constriction a bit there in that regard, in that aspect. So more of that's going to want to open up, and I feel it will. Um, uh, that's the potential, you know, more of the potential. And I really think you can help people bridge, you know, be one of the people that keeps increasingly deepening in the bridge between the super, what people call super woo woo, and the absolute practical and science. So it's pretty cool. And that's just a tad of what I see. But your people will come to you because they want to do this really deep work. The people, I feel like that's what they're really looking for. You know, some people work on the brain, but they don't go much farther than that. People coming to you are really spiritual. Ultimately, they tend to be very spiritual in the future, especially, and they want to go really deep, and they want it all. They want it all. I want the whole thing. I want full enlightened life. I want the whole kit and caboodle, everything, all the trimmings. So it's rather beautiful, and you utilizing all your gifts increasingly even more is going to be really something to behold. So it'll be cool. So anyway, so that's what I wanted to share with you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, and this work is really deep because the way I do this energetic work is that I do directly into the Akashic records.
Yes, yes.
So I connect into that and I do the work from in the Akashic records and from the Akashic records. That's why it's so deep and so profound and so really transformational. And that's also why it's not for everybody.
Right, exactly.
Because yeah.
Exactly. So that's so good that now that you said that you do that, now my audience will even want to come to you even more and more and more, because they're looking for people like you to support them. So anyway, so I'm so grateful to share that with you. And if people want to check out more about me, I just share briefly. You can go to yoursacredpurpose.com. Get your meditate and make money meditation. It works. And you tune in each day, open up those chakras, open up the brain, and get the downloads. You'll know, you'll hear people are making more money just listening to meditation each day. I'm sure they're taking action, by the way, but they're doing it through the meditation. And then there's opportunities to connect with me there if you want your own energy scan. For me, this is energy scanning, what I call it. So anyway, you can check that out at yoursacredpurpose.com. Now, as we're wrapping up here, Dr. Marina, is there any last thoughts or things you want to share with our audience today?
Yes, thank you for that. I want to tell each and every one of you guys who are listening that you are a powerful creator. Always remember that and stay in your power to create. And you have the power to create whatever you want, as long as you don't give your power away. So yeah.
Awesome. Yes, 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 yes. Cool. And Yeah, I'm looking forward to connecting further with you. I think I might want to know more about what you see for my energetic DNA and all that. So we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. With pleasure. Absolutely.
Yeah, so, cool. So I feel, and I certainly don't feel that way every single time I do an interview. Let me just put it that way. And so I want everybody to know that because I know some of you, I guess what I'm trying to tell you is this person is somebody you want to connect with. Okay, so just absolutely take advantage. All right, so that's all for this time, folks. So so grateful to share with you. As I always say, keep on tuning in here on Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, and we'll keep on rocking it. All right, till the next time. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
You're listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.